Hey guys, Goresh and Iron Cane here on 5-9 Gaming Mobile. Today we are going to be looking at Dragon Ball Legends top 10 ranking. So today we're looking at the top 10 best Sparkings released in 2021 that are not Legends Limited and are not ZENKAI awakenable characters. So this comes down to pretty much normal units, sparking units released on step-ups, normal sparking units released on all-star banners, that kind of thing. So I know you guys really were asking for Iron Can to be back on another top 10 ranking, so we've tried hard to get him back here, but welcome back to another tier list. How you feeling?
I feel really good, man. I know that you've always progressed making tier list videos, so since mine was so well received last year, I feel like I was the perfect person to help you out today. But hopefully, we could make a good video here today.
Yeah, for sure. So before we jump into the list, the way that we structured this and the way that we're going to be going about doing the actual rankings here is I've created my top 10 list with some honorable mentions. Iron Cane's created his list with some honorable mentions. So we're going to be going through both of our individual lists, and then at the end of the video, we're going to be taking the average of each ranking for each character, and we're going to have a combined list between both of us, and that's sort of like the main rankings we're going to be using at the end of the video. So I think what we'll do is we'll start with each of our honorable mentions. We're not going to spend too much time on that just because we want to get into the actual list, but I guess I'll start with my 3 honorable mentions. I have 3, you have 3. So my 3 honorable mentions are going to be the blue Super Saiyan 3 GT Goku. That's my first honorable mention. Second one's going to be the transforming purple Demon King Piccolo, who transforms from the older version to the younger version. And then my final honorable mention is going to be the purple Hit, who came out alongside the blue Revival Goku. So I think taking a look at those 3 honorable mentions, the number one thing that stands out amongst all those characters is that they have very limited amounts of defense. And I've found that, at least recently in this meta that we're in right now, defense is something that you really need because of all the ridiculously powerful characters that are like the meta characters, like Goku and Vegeta. You have Ultra Gogeta, you have sort of Trunks. So it's really important to not die in like 2 cards. And especially when you take a look at somebody like blue Super Saiyan 3 GT Goku, I actually feel like a lot of people might be a little bit surprised that he's not even going to make the top 10. But for him specifically, I mean, he has like very low defense, and the thing with him is he wants to combo for a long period of time, but he has no way of sort of interrupting the special cover change mechanics that a lot of these units have in the meta. And so for him to combo for a long period of time, it's difficult because he's just going to get interrupted by Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta's cover change, sort of Trunks has a cover change, Goku and Vegeta have a cover change, Ultra Gogeta has a cover change. Like, all these ridiculous units all have cover changes, and it's hard to really play around that with him. But that's sort of how we're looking at this. Oh yeah, and then the last thing to mention as well is that we're taking a look at all these units as they perform in the current meta, not when they initially came out. So for example, the transforming Demon King Piccolo, the purple one, he's actually fairly old at this point, and if you take a look and consider back when he first released, he actually was like really good, like one of my favorite units in the game, honestly. But nowadays, I mean, he's been power crept and definitely not comparable to when he first came out. So that's really the measuring stick we're using for these characters. But yeah, those are my 3 honorable mentions. What about yours?
So for me, I have Blue Nappa. I'm kind of basing that off of your showcase video, and also occasionally, like every 50 matches or so, I do actually run into a few Nappas out there, and he isn't he does stand out. Like, he does have impressive strike damage, but he just isn't outstanding enough, I would say, to put him on top 10. But he definitely surprised me for sure. And then I also have blue TOP 18. She obviously came with the TOP 17. 17 is definitely arguably better, but we'll talk about him later. 18, I feel like I used her. I tried her out when I was still brave enough to run androids in this meta. She surprised me that she can nullify endurance on her blue card, which is impressive, and her green card is cool because she can get a full hand, but I don't believe she recovers ki on that, so that kind of limits her there. But she's good. She has a decent utility, but I just feel like it's not modern enough to make her really good in this current meta. And then my other honorable mention is Red Piccolo. Red Piccolo is a good unit. I think he's good for regen, but just reds are kind of rare to see right now in this meta. You don't really see too many reds, and also regen is also fairly rare to see in this meta. So I feel like with that in mind, it's not that he's a bad unit. It's just that he just doesn't fit in this meta, I guess. Where in a time where like yellows, purples, and just those mono teams and blue is running around rampant right now.
All right, so those are our honorable mentions. I guess we'll go ahead and jump into our lists. So what we're going to do here is we'll both say our number 10 picks, and then we'll talk about why we chose those units. So for me, my number 10 pick is going to be the cooler movie Piccolo that you just put in your honorable mentions list. And then who's your number 10 pick?
I put DKP. I definitely see the argument for putting him in honorable mentions. I mean, he's in number 10, right? So I feel confident putting him in number 10. But he was very good when he originally came out, of course, like you mentioned. And I feel like he does have a spot on regen if you're going to use regen. But of course, you know, Zamasu has a Zenkai, so you probably most likely would use him. But, you know, the transforming ability that he has where he gets like a full hand, covers key. Like if he gets going, he can really pop off. But like you said, he is starting to get power creep. So he isn't as used as he once was. But I still feel like since he was a pretty good unit, I feel like I had to put him on the list at some point, but, you know, I understand you putting him on honorable mentions for sure.
Yeah, for Demon King Piccolo specifically, I don't, like, if you put him in your list, obviously, it's, like, there's an argument for that. His main ability is still one of the better main abilities in the entire game. Gets 100 ki, like, literally 100 ki back. So even if you have 0 ki, like, if the enemy switches into, like, Angel Vegeta or something, and reduces your ki to 0, you can still transform and get literally 100 ki back. You draw a full hand of cards. He has card draw speed. He gets buffed whenever the enemy switches. Like, he's doing a lot. Just a character that's able to control offensively a lot of the flow of battle a lot of time. So, I mean, I could definitely see the argument for him. And then for me, the reason why I put the cooler movie Red Piccolo at number 10, again, I feel like a lot of the points that you made were pretty valid, right? I mean, for a red unit these days to be used, considering how many blue units are running around, like, they need to be really, really good. And I think the fact that there's mainly one reason why I think Piccolo is deserving of this spot, and that's just because the fact that he number one, he draws a strike card, I believe, when he switches in. And on top of that, he also has card draw speed. So this is a unit that you're able to sort of use as like a switch in, combo, switch out style kind of unit. Because he's able to come in, draw a card, sort of leverage that with card draw speed, and buy some time to be able to switch back out pretty much into another character almost all the time. And so this is a unit that I don't really think is going to be getting hit that often, but then yeah, when he does get hit, he's going to be taking a lot of damage. And like you said, regen is not really that prominent right now in the meta. And if you're going to be running a movies team, I think there's another red movies character that we'll talk about in a second that I would rather use than him. Yeah, Red Piccolo I think is actually pretty good. I saw a lot of people saying that he deserves to be in the top 10 worst Sparkings of 2021.
I don't think so.
I would disagree with, but yeah, definitely not like in the top 5 or anything. But yeah, that's my number 10.
Yeah, I would hope as the meta shifts, and God, I hope it does one day, that this Red Piccolo does get more play, because he's an interesting character. But yeah, just with the meta right now, he just, unfortunately, doesn't get much play.
Yeah, all right, so that's number 10. Let's move on to our number 9 picks. For me, I picked Red Bojack, and then who was your number 9 pick?
Right, me, I had Purple Vegeta.
The purple-blue Vegeta, right? The, like Super Saiyan, God Super Saiyan Vegeta? Okay.
Yeah.
So for me, again, it's just very difficult to run red units in this meta, and Bojack released back during the 3 anniversary. He was like a major character that you saw like almost every other match or something like that back when he first came out. And it's really hard to say like that he's aged a lot, because he honestly really hasn't aged that much. It's just every other unit around him has just become like that's a meta relevant unit. Again, like the Ultra Gogeta, like Sword of Hope Trunks, like Goku and Vegeta, like the Legends Festival trio. Doesn't really make it easy to use him in this meta right now. But honestly, if you're going to take a look at the movies team or like the powerful opponent team or something like that, and you like want to put a red on your team, he's one of the few options that I would consider as a red character for my team that I would actually feel relatively okay with including. Red isn't just such a bad spot right now, so that's really the reason why he's number 9 on my list and not higher up.
I feel like you could make the argument that he's probably one of the best red units that came out this year at all. Just
for sure, yeah.
But I'll talk about him in a sec. But for me, the reason why I put purple Vegito, it's kind of just or the god version of him, is because just kind of mono purple. If mono purple wasn't running around so rampant, I probably may not have him on this list. If I have him higher or lower, I mean. But yeah, it's basically just because mono purple is a thing. Are there better purple units to run? Absolutely, 100%, of course. I think the fact that he can recover Vanish on his special move is good. His damage it's fine, but like, my mindset here is that he's going to be getting Zenkai buffs from other mono or other purple units. So like, the reason why I have him on the list at this placement at number 9 is because of mono purple. But if mono purple wasn't a thing, he probably would not be on the list. But yeah, that's pretty much the reason why I put him there. I just feel that, say if you got shafted on certain banners, you don't have certain characters, you could run this guy on a, you know, pretty free to play, well, assuming you got this guy, on a, I guess, lower scary mono purple team.
Yeah, and then I think for me, the number one reason why I would even consider putting this guy on the list is just because of the fact that he has that support ability as well, right? He gives, I think it's 20% damage and key recovery to, I know God Key's in there, I think Fusion Warrior's in there as well, and then I assume Future is probably the last tag he gives the buff to. So that does affect Goku and Vegeta, so he technically is giving support to Goku and Vegeta on like the mono purple team, if you wanted to throw him on there. So he's not a bad option for that team at all. You know, at least the first blast that he does when he switches in does a lot of damage. His ultimate ends up recovering his Vanish. The one negative about him, that's like actually a pretty big negative, I think, is that his green card is actually pretty bad.
Yeah.
So I just wish they maybe would have made that a little bit better. Maybe restored Vanishing Gauge on that green card would have made him a little better, but definitely not like a terrible unit. I've seen people saying as well for him that he also was like one of the worst Farkings this year, which definitely I don't agree. But yeah, number 9 I think is a fair spot for him.
He's not, not the best, not the worst, but
yeah. All right, so my number 8 pick on my list is actually going to be the Sparking Nappa, the blue Nappa. And then what about for you?
For me, I have God Topo.
Okay. So for me, Nappa, I think, is a character that a lot of people sort of like have no idea how good he is. And the reason being is because I don't think many people ended up summoning on this banner because it's Nappa, and people probably don't even care about the character at all, right? I mean, it makes sense. He released next to the Revival Gohan, who ended up being kind of just like a mid character. And Nappa is a unit that is actually doing a lot when you take a look at his full kit in its entirety. He draws a strike card. He changes his blast cards to strike card when he switches in. He is healing 3% HP whenever he draws a strike card or blast card. He has card draw speed in his main ability. He ignores special cover changes. He has blast armor, and yeah, he's doing a lot of stuff. And once you string all those things together, especially if you want to pair him up to or up with someone like Yajirobe, provides a green card to give him even more buffs, more card draw speed, more healing. Things can get pretty insane. And I've definitely had a lot of matches using this character where he's like been able to just bulldoze even green units over. So in the right scenario with a team built around him the right way, he definitely can be really, really good. He just really, he's pretty dependent on you like building the team around him to be good. So that's why I didn't put him higher than number 8. But in like the wrong position, I could definitely see him being pretty underwhelming. So
yeah, one thing that struck out to me when you were talking about that is just nullifying cover change, because like every like meta character in PvP right now has some sort of cover change. So just being able to nullify that is like very beneficial. But I personally never played Nappa. That's why I had him in honorable mentions. But I don't necessarily disagree with your placement of him for sure.
Yeah, again, I just think it's the case that people really haven't had a chance to use him or even fight against him that much yet. So
yeah. And then passing over to me, I have God Topo at number 8. Of course I can see the argument of placing him higher on this list. But for me, the reason why I have him at number 8 is because I feel like whenever I fought him personally and I have like a blue or a neutral unit against him, he was never really too outstanding. He can lock in, which is good for rush, of course. You can single on a unit there. But I don't know, he's just never really been too crazy outstanding for me. But he's definitely a green that you can run on God Key or Rival Universe if you're brave enough to run Rival Universe right now. But he definitely probably fits more on God Key. But yeah, for me, he's just not outstanding enough to be placed, 5 and around that area. But number 8 seems fair to me. But he's definitely a solid green, I'd say, in terms of sparkings.
All right, so moving on to number 7. For me, I have, this might be a shocker to a lot of people, but I have Yellow Angel Vegeta coming in at number 7. And how about you?
For me, I have Bojack, the red Bojack.
Okay, cool. So you have, that's like, I think one of the first ones that have overlapped with me. So for my pick, 7 being Angel Vegeta, I feel like this is probably one of the most well-aged units in the game, because thinking about when he released, I believe he came out back in like February, because I believe that's when LF Kid Buu came out. So it's been almost a full year, almost the full 365-day calendar year since he released, and honestly, he's still usable completely. You can use him on Vegeta Family, you can use him on the Saiyan team. I would say that most people end up using him on the Saiyan team just because that's where he fits the best, I think. You know, him plus the Super Saiyan 3 Zenkai Goku combo. Like, how often did you run into that combo in PvP? Like, every 2 matches, pretty much, when that was, like, the biggest combo to be wary of.
Once or twice, you know?
Yeah. So, he obviously had his day to shine. I feel like the biggest issue with this character right now is just the fact that his defense has been sort of power crept again. This is the biggest issue with the game, honestly. It's not even just his fault. It's just the game, right? You take a look at a lot of these units that used to be good and used to be, like, usable. And the fact that I would say that when you compare the power creep in this game and you sort of separate it into 2 paths, the first one being offense, the second one being defense, the offensive side of power creep has, like, tripled over the course of this year. The amount of damage that these units are doing has just exponentially gone up. And I would actually argue that for the defensive end in power creep, like, you compare a lot of these defensive units that are released, later in the year as compared to earlier in the year, there really isn't that big of a gap between how defensive these units have been created and designed. And because of that, Vegeta's main sort of like attraction and the reason why he was so good is because of his ability to come in, eat damage, lower ki, disrupt the enemy. And he's just not able to do that as well anymore, especially with Goku and Vegeta coming out. The Vegeta side of Goku and Vegeta literally one-shots this Vegeta. And to me, that's the main reason why I have him at number 7 and not higher than that.
Yeah, that's completely fair. No, if Vegeta hits this Vegeta with a blue card, like you said, it'll one-shot or get very, very, very close to one-shotting him. So if people that are running this character need to be very careful and mindful of that.
Yeah, and it's not only that, like, Goku and Vegeta unit either. Like, Ultra Gogeta comes in, blue cards this Vegeta, or even just like hits him with 2 strike cards, he's toast. Like, he's dead. And also the fact that one of the biggest things this Vegeta did was reducing sub count on allies whenever he was hit. And he used to be, a unit you could just throw in there. He takes 3 hits, he switches out, he heals up, and everything's fine. Where now he takes 3 hits and he's dead. So it's much harder to make use of that sub count reduction ability I've found right now. So
alrighty, so throwing it back to me, I have Red Bojack. I feel like he's, like I was mentioning before, I feel like he's definitely probably one of the best red units released this year, if not the best. The fact that his transforming card, I forget what it's called, but basically it's the first time that's something that's been introduced to the game, which is pretty neat.
Awakened Arts card.
Yeah, the Awakened Arts card. It shreds, man. It shreds. Like, that hits a yellow unit. Most times it'll get them to 1, and he gets a power upgrade when he transforms, of course, as most characters do. And I just think that the fact that card has the ability, or when he pops his main, the fact that it removes Vanish, you could just rush off of it if you'd like, or you could pop the card if people have expended their switches and just use it and, like, do a crap ton of damage. I think the Bojack aged fairly well, but it's just like, as we've been talking about, it's just that red characters unfortunately don't get as much play just because mono purple and mono blue. With the Ultra Gogeta, I imagine Bojack would not fare too well against him, but I'm personally not using this guy in PvP. This is more so on the receiving end of him, I guess. But yeah, I don't. Aggress, do you have anything to say based off of, I don't know, Bojack fighting an Ultra Gogeta? And do you think he would? Do you think he would fare well in that case?
Nah, not really. I mean, okay, here's the biggest, because I already talked about Bojack a lot, but the last thing I'll say about Bojack is that Bojack used to be a character where you could sort of just throw him in on a cover change and he'll be able to tank well. And that was like something he had going for him back when he released during the 3 anniversary. And nowadays, you can't do that. You can't have him tank because he'll just die. So that really takes away from one of the dimensions that made him super good back then. I mean, he's able to do like half as well as he used to, but again, it's just it all goes back to the same point I made earlier, where just the offensive power creep has just been ridiculous over the course of the past like month to 2 months. So really, I guess, gimped that unit a lot. All right, so let's move on to number 6. So for number 6 for me, I actually had God of Destruction Topo. And then who'd you have for number 6?
Number 6, I had the DBS Broly, the green one that just came out fairly recently.
Okay, cool. So for me, my quick thoughts on God Topo. A very unique character, because you don't really see a lot of these characters anymore that are able to affect your switching abilities. We used to see characters like that all the time with like yellow transforming BoJack movie Gohan, units like the green Bardock. When he first came out, he was like the first unit to really lock you in. Like red Vegeta was able to do it, and then they sort of stopped doing those sorts of things because they're just so like that ability of being able to lock you in. It sort of removes the main functionality that you have to defend yourself, which is switching to get your vanish back. And so the fact that this Topo is able to do that, and then also on top of that, his ultimate in combination with the fact that you can't switch, means that in a meta where the best unit is blue, I feel like he actually has a pretty good spot in this meta right now, this Topo. But on the other hand, you have the mono purple team, which comes in and like, you know, blows them out of the water with like one blue card. But you just got to use them smart. I think there's also situations where this guy can actually be really good against Goku and Vegeta. If you catch that Vegeta in a combo, you switch into Topo, pop your main ability, and they're dead. You can kill them, because remember, green is good against the Vegeta variant of that unit. So I think Topo does have some good spots right now in the meta, even though he is a green character, which is kind of crazy to say because the best unit's blue. The meta right now is insane. It's like blue and purple dominated. But yeah, I think Topo definitely is looking pretty good. So that's why I have him at number 6.
Yeah, it's funny. We both have green units as number 6, and for me, I have the Broly. Broly is some way that in the right hands could be monstrous, just because he can combo for a long time. He can also nullify cover change, which is very helpful because it feels like every character and their mother has cover change nowadays. But yeah, his blue card, I feel like it can snipe, and it nullifies endurance, if I'm not mistaken, right?
His blue card, no, it does not.
He doesn't nullify endurance? Okay.
No, it just has blast armor.
Okay. Well, blast armor is helpful. But he's a unit that's fairly good, but I just feel like, of course, we mentioned it 100 times, just the meta, he can be destroyed by mono purple, but he could also destroy blue Ultra Gogeta, but you have to, of course, land a combo on him and get lucky and, you know, all that type of stuff. But it's just, it's difficult in this meta because you run one team, you're in, you know, in a position where you might be weak to another. So you kind of got to be careful in this meta. But I feel like the Broly isn't too bad. He does have a lot of strike damage. He has card draw speed. He can keep getting more and more card draw speed as he launches strikes. And I feel like that's pretty good to, you know, farm rushes and things like that. But yeah, that's why I have him number 6. He's not outstanding, but I mean, he's fair. I feel like putting him somewhere in the middle is fair for this unit.
All right, let's move on to our number 5 units. So my number 5 character is going to be the Tournament of Power Yellow Android 17.
Okay, and number 5 for me, I have the Bird Goku.
Yeah, by Bird Goku, we mean Yellow Cooler's Revenge Super Saiyan Goku, in case you guys don't know what that means. But for me, Android 17, I mean, I assume a lot of people already are familiar with what this guy is able to do. Kind of similar, actually, to my number 6 pick with God Topo, because this guy's main asset that he brings to the table is being able to lock you in and kill you before you can switch. So he actually has 2 ways to do this. Number 1 is through his green card. Actually increases your sub count, I believe, by 1. So you actually can do that, and you can get like 1 hit off before they're able to switch. So you can actually use this green card and then rush the enemy, and they actually can't switch. And then the second way to do that is with his blue card. It sort of has like the same effect as that green card. So you use the blue, and the enemy pretty much has to, the current enemy that switched in at that point in time has to eat that blue card. So in a meta, like we were talking about this whole time, that's sort of been dominated by this mono purple team, he actually can be a very, very valuable asset. And on top of the fact that his main ability draws his blue card, which then locks you in, it's a pretty cohesive kit that he has going for him. He has a cover change against strike cards. He's actually fairly tanky against these blue units. He gets card draw speed with his main ability that actually lasts for the entire fight. So yeah, he's doing a lot, and then his equipment setup is actually going to be pretty good as well, with a lot of good Universe Survival Saga equipment, some good Android equipment if the team ever sees support in the future, hopefully soon.
Yeah, man.
But yeah, this unit's actually really good. I think he's aged pretty well, and that's my number 5 pick.
For me, I have the Bird Goku, who I just want to start off with the bat. He has one of the coolest cover changes of all time. Like, he takes it like a fist to the chest and just eats it. Like, that's pretty sick. In a time where mono purple is running rampant, I mentioned this 100 times. Well, I mentioned 101 times. He's fairly good here as a summoning Sparky that's not an LF. Of course, he has a green card that does the launch effect. I forget what the official term you would call it, but
AoE green card.
Yeah, AoE green card. I feel like he's just a really good strong. I personally haven't really used him, but I've seen him be used against me, seen him be used against other players, and I feel like he holds his own here. And for not being an LF, I feel like that's kind of noteworthy. Unfortunately, Christian, I don't know if you can help me out here. I don't really have too much to defend because I personally not too familiar with his kit, but I feel like just seeing him perform, I feel like he makes the spot here at number 5 or around this area.
Yeah, for me, he's sort of a more modern take on the Angel Vegeta, which is why I have him. You'll see. I have him higher on my list than I have for Angel Vegeta. He does provide like the same sort of utility that Vegeta provides, which is the ability to heal your whole team, because he does heal your whole team whenever he switches into the battlefield. He's able to heal your whole team again whenever he uses his main ability. He actually gets card draw speed whenever your allies or other allies are hit by attacks. So he can come in with like 3 times card draw speed and just combo forever. His blue card reduces sub count. He is just a very, very strong character. And on top of that, he's got the AoE green card, which is just super, super annoying to fight against. He's a Super Saiyan, so you can throw him on the Bardock team, and he's just killing everything instantly. So yeah, he's got a lot going for him. And then, like you said, the cover change as well. So super tanky character. I mean, he's a defense type character, so he's actually designed to eat damage. And I think he does a much better job at eating damage than Angel Vegeta does, which is why I sort of have him on that same level as Angel Vegeta, but he's just like a more modern take on that same unit. So yeah, he's a really good unit. I like that unit. One of my favorite characters in the entire game, honestly, right now is him. All right, so moving on to number 4, I actually have the green Dragon Ball Super Broly unit at number 4 on my list. Who do you have?
Me, I actually have the Angel Vegeta.
Okay. So for me, Broly, I mean, we've pretty much said everything we need to say about him. For me, this Broly, the thing that sets him apart from pretty much any other unit in the game is his strike card effect literally gives him card draw speed for 5 counts. To me, that is probably the single best effect we've ever seen on a strike card. Because what that does is, again, we've talked about this a million times, the meta is dominated by a purple-based team, a mono-purple team. You can actually pretty much have permanent double card draw speed with this Broly, assuming you've built your team around a strike-based team that has a lot of strike cards in your deck. If you just continuously strike the enemy and string together these strike cards in the middle of a combo, you can, again, pretty much have double card draw speed the whole time, which will allow you, or it should allow you, to extend a combo long enough to just be able to switch out before your enemy can even hit you once. Again, he nullifies special cover changes. His blue card hits ridiculously hard, even against blue units. Hits really, really hard. The one negative I would say about this character, though, and I think this is like sort of the same thing you could say about characters like LF Super Vegeta, so it's not like a major downside to this character because a lot of the best characters in the game have this, or some of them have this, is the fact that he gets stronger based on your enemy using certain cards. So he's going to be getting extra strike damage whenever the enemy uses strike cards. He's going to be getting extra blast damage when the enemy uses blast cards. So if the enemy is using tons of cards like this over and over and over again, you're probably losing the match if that's the case. So that's like one area where I don't really like the way that they've designed him, but I think, again, with the card draw speed he's getting, with the blue card damage, just like the raw damage and stuff like that, the extra damage he gets against Saiyans, and the healing and the key recovery and everything on his main ability, he actually draws an extra strike card in his main ability as well in case he doesn't have enough card draw speed already. Yeah, he's a really, really good character, a really good unit.
And then for me, I have Angel Vegeta, and we talked about him a lot before. But for me, the reason why I have him at number 4 is just because Bird Goku, I would argue, is the better unit overall. But for me, it's just I've seen Angel Vegeta just have more play in PvP. This is probably because obviously Bird Goku is more recent unit. Maybe a lot of people didn't summon on him as much, and Angel Vegeta has been around for a long time. He's just kind of like a wall for me whenever I run on a purple team or just in general. He reduces ki, and he has a lot of health if he's built that way. And he's kind of just a wall. And I feel like, of course, you know, if you do get that Vegeta switch in, he can get messed up. But the fact that he does have that utility of just making you not able to play the game, I guess, reducing the ki, and the fact that he can draw full hand with his green card. I see a lot of people just farming rushes with this guy. They kind of just throw him to take damage and farm rushes, and reducing swap time so you can swap him out when need be. And I just feel that this character gets a lot of play, which is the reason why I have him so high up, more so than the Bird Goku. And that's kind of my reasoning for that.
Yeah, I think the one advantage that Angel Vegeta has over the cooler movie Goku is the fact that his main ability reduces sub count by 5 like instantly like that. Whereas with Goku, you have to like use the blue card to do that. So if you really need to switch out like ASAP with that Vegeta, then you can use that like sort of emergency eject button with the main ability for him. Whereas with Goku, you can't really do that. So, all right, so we're gonna move on to our top 3 rankings here. So my number 3 is actually that cooler movie Goku. I think we've pretty much said everything we have to say about him, so I'm not going to go into too much detail here, but one of my favorite units in the game. And he's not the best character of all time, but he's certainly not the worst. I mean, number 3 on this list is pretty impressive. Just, you know, aesthetically, one of my favorite characters. Kit-wise, he's just, again, I think a more modern version of Angel Vegeta, being able to sort of provide sort of the same utility that he does, but just a better unit, does more damage. You know, Blast Armor on Ultimate. He actually has an Ultimate, unlike Vegeta. And I just think a better overall character. So that's my number 3 pick.
Yeah, for me, my number 3 pick is TOP17. Now, this might be kind of like wishful thinking, but unfortunately, I feel like what stifles 17 is honestly just his team. Androids is struggling right now, man. We're hungry. We're hungry for a really good unit. I haven't ran Androids in a minute, but 17 is definitely one of the best units, if not the best unit on Androids right now. You could throw him as a team leader for sure to try and snipe these pesky purple units. His blue card can do that. His green card can do that with a rush. And he gets card draw speed, like mentioned before. He locks main abilities, which is very cool for a Sparking to have. I know Beerus is one of the first people to do that. And another character that I imagine we both have on this list also does that. But yeah, I mean, the 17, he's good, man. It's tough because his team is just not where it needs to be competitive in this season and seasons past, honestly. You're not running into many androids right now, and it stinks, but it is what it is. But 17, I feel like, has a really good kit. He's a good unit. It's just that his team is holding him back. I feel that's really the main issue.
Yeah, the one thing that actually, the reason why I don't have him so high on my list, I mean, he's number 5, it's not bad, but the reason why he's number 5 and not higher up is because with the leader slot update, I would love to put this guy on other teams that are not androids and that are not Universe Survival Saga. The issue with that is that he actually gets a 50% damage inflicted buff when an ally Universe Survival Saga or android character is defeated. So you have to pretty much run him on those teams to get the full effects of what he wants to be doing. So that's kind of a bummer, because then you really can't run him on other teams just because his kit is sort of specific to those tags. And because of that, I feel like his value just goes down a little bit. So I have him at number 5. You have him at number 3. Let's move on to our top 2. So for number 2 for me, I have Majub. Who do you have for number 2?
I have Zamasu assist.
Okay, so for me, I mean, we might as well just go into our number 1 spot as well, because it's basically flip-flop. I have Goku Black and Zamasu assist at number 1 and Majub at number 2, and then you have Majub at number 1 and then Zamasu assist at number 2.
Yeah.
Honestly, this could kind of go either way. It's very, very close. For me, I'm going to start talking about Majub first. So for Majub, I mean, they were like on crack when they designed this guy's green card or something. Like, is this green card good enough? Like, what were they thinking of this? If
good,
that
man.
green card, if he did not have that green card, he would not be even in like the top 5. I don't think.
100%.
Like if he had like
100%.
if he had the generic like I'm powering up green card like that like all the EX units have, like he would not be. It would not be good. Well, he'd be good,
Yeah.
but he would not be in the top 2. But yeah, this guy's ability to draw, because he draws the green card every time he switches in for the first time.
Yep.
So you know he has it. It is lightning fast activation. It goes off like a fraction of a second, so you can't really react to it. Ignores special cover changes. It lets you farm Dragon Balls easily. Not only the fact that he has a green card too, but he has endurance. He's supporting the whole team with his, I think it's 15% damage inflicted for the whole team just for existing. He gets Ki when he switches in. He gets double card draw speed on his main ability. Like, he's honestly pretty insane if you think about it.
He heals as well, right?
On his main ability,
he heal
I believe
allies?
so.
Yeah.
You might. This guy does so much that I don't even remember everything he does. But the thing as well is that the reason why I put him at number 2 and not number 1 is literally just because of the presence of the Goku, the Vegeta side of the Goku and the Vegeta can incinerate Majub. Like, even if you build him tanky and defensively, like I've had builds where Majub is sitting at like 3 million HP and he's still getting rocked by that Vegeta like it's nothing. So yeah, I mean, a ridiculously powerful unit that has a lot of utility. Yeah, he does restore ally health by 15% on his main ability, by the way. But it's tough to put him over Goku Black and Zamasu, who I'll talk about in a second. But what are your thoughts on Majub?
For me, it's just like the reason why I have him at number 1 is because I feel like he's, to me, more threatening, just because I struggle with getting priority on him, and I always get smacked up with that green card, man. And then he nullifies cover chain, so I just got to eat whatever card he's going to throw at me, because he draws a card when that green card goes through.
Yep.
He heals. He has endurance. He can be a wall. If you catch him, of course, you can wreck him with a Goku Vegeta on a Vegeta switch with blue card, 100%. You can one-shot him depending on how he's built. But I feel like he's frustrating to fight against because who he's accompanied with the fusion characters, with of course the Ultra Gogeta and the Green Gogeta with his insane equip that makes him a monster these days. So I feel like it's just more so who he's with, what he's doing, and the fact that he can be really defensive, he can be offensive in the ways with his green card, and it's just he's an issue for me personally, more so than I find with Zamasu. That's why I have him at number 1.
Yeah, and don't forget the fact that he also locks strike cards, and that he also reduces attribute upgrades on his blue card.
Yeah.
So he
I forgot about that.
this unit literally does everything.
Yeah, he does a lot, man. He does a lot. The only thing that he doesn't do, I guess, is lock people in and like main ability locking. But yeah, pretty much a lot of things. He inflicts a paralysis too, right?
Yep.
Doesn't he? Dude, like, my goodness, Swift, like, he does everything, bro.
Yep. All right, so let's move on to Goku Black and Zamasu. So this for me is my number 1 pick. You had them at number 2.
Yeah.
So the main reason why I have this unit at number 1 on my list is because, like I've been talking about this entire time, the defensive side of power creep in this game has been very slow. There hasn't really been that many progressions in terms of units being like even more tanky than they were a few months ago. Whereas for offense, you take a look at a unit that released like a few months ago. Like, dude, LF Cell came out like 2 months ago. And then, dude, look at the LS we're getting now. We're getting Goku and Vegeta and Trunks. It's like not even remote. Like, the offensive firepower of Goku and Vegeta and Trunks compared to Cell is like a night and day difference.
You're triggering me, Gareth. Why are you gonna bring up the Cell, man?
But defensively, like, there's not that much of a gap, I would say, for a lot of these characters that have come out. This is like the one exception to the rule. This Zamasu and Goku Black unit. They are actually able to tank against purple characters for the first, I believe it's 30 counts of battle, because they get, what is it, like 60 or 70% reduced damage received. And they are really, really good. This unit not only does like a lot of that stuff, they lock main ability, they take away your vanishing gauge with their first green card use. They get double card draw speed when they switch in. They reduce your key by 30. I think they destroy one of their own cards and gain a green card, so they can actually force draw their vanish stealing green card. Yeah, and it's not like they're doing like little damage either. They're actually doing pretty decent damage, I would say. Like their blue card hits very hard when you use that main ability with it. And on top of that, they're healing every time they switch out. The entire team. It's like Vados, but not as potent. But this unit, I felt, is probably the most well-balanced character out of all the characters we've seen released during Legends Festival. That includes, well, maybe not Goku and Vegeta. Goku and Vegeta are probably the most well-balanced character, but that includes like Sword of Trunks. I would say that they're more well-balanced. By balance, I don't mean like power level-wise. I mean in terms of offense and defense. Like they're able to eat damage and also do a lot of damage at the same time, and very rare that we see that, I think, at this point in the game's lifespan. So that's why I have them at number 1.
Yeah, I feel like that's totally fair. I'm not really too upset that you have him at number 1. I could see that argument 100%. The only reason why I didn't have him at number 1 personally, just because the damage, of course, on the blue card is crazy, but just on his strikes and blasts, I just feel like he's not too threatening to me personally. But I've definitely been cucked by him before with people running him in a whatever yellow, whether it be a Gohan, a Majub, or whoever. Him in a yellow is monstrous because they switch into him. While I have Vegeta, I'm doing absolutely no damage at all whatsoever. And if they pop the green card and I get rushed, well, there goes my powerhouse unit, right? So I feel like him being able to remove Vanish and him blocking main abilities are definitely what is going to affect players the most. For me, damage isn't really too scary from him, unless with the blue. But yeah, the Vanish is definitely, the Vanish removal is definitely the thing I'm most scared of when it comes to this unit. Other than that, that's kind of the reason why I have him at number 2 and Majub at number 1. But I could totally see you having him at number 1. He's an outstanding unit for sure.
Yeah, and then one other thing to mention too is just that, like, in terms of their spot on these meta teams, like you throw them on a future team with future Gohan and like Sword of Hope Trunks, 2 endurance characters, and you're healing 5% constantly every time you switch in and out with them. Like it just gets so annoying, and it's like it makes the team almost unkillable. Like it's just really annoying.
So much health. Much health.
I talked about earlier how Angel Vegeta was one of the best aging units in the game. Another unit that aged really well since she released was Vados, and I feel like this unit is just a more modern version of Vados, similarly to how the Cooler Movie Goku was a more modern version of Vegeta. These are like the same. These units fulfill the same roles as those old units do. They're just more modern and they're just better.
Yeah, because what was Vados' main issue, right? She couldn't take a hit.
Yeah, she literally couldn't tank.
Exactly, and Zamasu Sis, for sure, can definitely take a lot of hits.
Yep. All right, so those are our individual lists. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to be listing off the combined list, and the way that I calculated these placements was by looking at both of our lists and just taking the average spot that each unit was listed on. So for our honorable mentions, we have the blue Super Saiyan 3 Goku, we have purple Hit, and we have the blue Android 18. Number 10 is actually a 3-way tie on the combined list. We have red Piccolo, purple Super Saiyan God Super Saiyan Vegito, purple Demon King Piccolo, the transforming one. Number 9, we had blue Nappa. Number 8 was red Bojack. Number 7 was the green God of Destruction Topo. Number 6 was the yellow Angel Vegeta. Number 5 was the green Dragon Ball Super Broly. Number 3 and 4 are sort of like tied, so we're going to put those in the same sort of ranking here. Number 3 and 4 was yellow Super Saiyan Goku from the Cooler Movie and yellow Android 17. And then again, number 1 and 2 was also tied because I had Zamasu Goku Black Assist as number 1, whereas he had Majub as number 1. The places were swapped, so they are number 1 and 2 on the list as well. So there is our combined list. I think it's pretty good. I don't really see any major glaring issues with it.
No, I'm pretty happy with it.
Any last things you want to say before we get out of here?
Yeah, it's just if you ever need any help on another tier list, make sure to hit me up. I'm pretty good when it comes to tier lists, so if you ever need any help again, just,
you have a good history with them,
yeah.
That's going to be it from us. So if you guys have any criticism you want to say, obviously not everyone's going to agree with our placements here. So let us know down below in the comments if you agree or disagree with our placements here. Remember, this is not counting LF characters and not counting ZENKAI characters. Just characters released starting from January 1st, 2021, all the way through December 31st, 2021. So hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys liked the video, don't be afraid to go down below, hit that like button, subscribe for more content just like this, and we'll see you guys all in the next one.
Peace, guys.